First contact and revelation. The massive collective vessel emerged from the darkness of space, its crystalline hull refracting sunlight in prismatic patterns across Earth's orbital monitoring stations. Commander Elena Reyes stood rigid on the observation deck of Orbital Defense Platform Alpha, her dark eyes never leaving the alien ship as it decelerated into a synchronous orbit around Earth. After decades of scanning the stars, humanity had finally received an answer, though not in the form they expected. Collective vessel holding at 600 kilometers, Lieutenant Park announced, his voice tight with tension. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. Universal translation protocols are processing now. Elena nodded, smoothing her uniform. 20 years in Earth's United Defense Force had prepared her for many things, but first contact with an alien civilization wasn't one of them. Yet here she was, the senior officer present as humanity faced its most significant moment. "Put it through," she ordered, her voice betraying none of the anxiety coursing through her. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a being that defied human morphology. Ambassador Krell had 6 limbs arranged asymmetrically around a central torso, with 3 optical sensors positioned in a triangular pattern above what Elena assumed was a breathing apparatus. Its skin, if it could be called that, rippled with bioluminescent patterns that seemed to synchronize with its speech. "People of Earth," the alien's melodic voice came through the translator with surprising clarity. "I am Ambassador Krell of the Galactic Collective, an alliance of 63 spacefaring civilizations. We have observed your world for some time and deemed you ready for initial contact." Elena felt a chill at those words. How long had they been watching? What did they know? "On behalf of Earth and humanity, we welcome you, Ambassador," Elena replied. "I am Commander Reyes of the United Earth Defense Force." The ambassador's lights pulsed in what might have been amusement. A military representative. Interesting choice for a diplomatic exchange. "We believe in transparency," Elena responded smoothly. "Our military serves under civilian authority. Speaking of transparency, might I ask how long the collective has been observing Earth?" "Nearly 70 of your years," Krell answered without hesitation. "We monitor developing worlds until they achieve consistent interplanetary travel. Your recent Mars colonies qualified you for contact." Behind Elena, Admiral Santiago entered the command center, nodding for her to continue. They had prepared protocols for this scenario, though few had believed they would ever be needed. "The collective offers membership to civilizations at your stage of development," Krell continued. "Our technologies, medical advancements, and knowledge networks would be available to your people. In exchange, we request resource access rights and acceptance of collective guidance in your further development." Elena and Santiago exchanged glances. The offer sounded reasonable on the surface, but both recognized the underlying implication. Earth would become a junior partner, perhaps little more than a resource extraction point for more advanced civilizations. "Your generous offer requires careful consideration," Elena responded. "Earth's United Council will need to review the specific terms." "Of course," Krell's lights pulsed in patterns that the translation software couldn't interpret. "We understand. To expedite your decision process, perhaps a demonstration of collective capabilities would be helpful." Without waiting for a response, the alien vessel emitted a beam of coherent energy that sliced through Earth's atmosphere, striking the Pacific Ocean. Instead of catastrophe, the water began to churn, then separated in a perfect circle 2 kilometers in diameter, the liquid held back by invisible forces to reveal the seabed below. "A simple manipulation of gravitational fields," Krell explained. "One of many technologies we could share." The demonstration was clearly meant to impress and intimidate. The message was clear. The collective's technological superiority was absolute. "Impressive." Admiral Santiago stepped forward. "But perhaps reciprocal demonstrations would build greater understanding between our peoples. Earth would be honored to show the collective our own achievements." Krell's lights flickered in what the humans interpreted as surprise. "While unnecessary, we welcome your demonstration. What would you like to show us?" Santiago smiled, the expression not reaching his eyes. "Our defensive capabilities. With your permission, we could arrange a display in 3 Earth days." "Agreed," Krell responded. "Though I must advise that the collective has encountered hundreds of developing worlds. We are familiar with the typical military capabilities of pre-FTL civilizations." As the transmission ended, Santiago turned to Elena. "Activate the Invictus Protocol. Authorization Santiago Alpha 709. Elena's eyes widened. "Sir, the Invictus hasn't completed final testing." "It's ready enough," Santiago replied grimly. "They're trying to establish dominance from the outset. We need to change the dynamics of this relationship immediately." 3 days later, Ambassador Krell and a small delegation from the collective stood on the deck of an Earth naval destroyer in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The humans had arranged what they called a traditional military review, which Krell found quaintly archaic but agreed to indulge. Elena stood beside the alien delegation, watching their reactions carefully. The collective representatives wore environmental suits, though analysis had confirmed Earth's atmosphere was compatible with their biology. Another small power play. "While we appreciate your hospitality," Krell said, "water-based vessels have been obsolete in the collective for millennia." Elena smiled. "We have a fondness for tradition, Ambassador. But I assure you, Earth's defenses extend beyond ocean vessels." She removed a small device from her pocket and pressed a button. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then the ocean began to churn several kilometers away. The first sign was a massive circular disturbance in the water, followed by the emergence of a colossal structure. As it rose from the depths, water cascaded off surfaces that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. The structure kept rising, revealing itself as the largest vessel any of the collective members had ever seen. "Allow me to introduce the UES Invictus," Elena said calmly as the supercarrier fully emerged. At over 3 kilometers in length, the vessel dwarfed even the collective ship in orbit. Its hull was covered in material that seemed to shift and adapt to its surroundings, making it difficult to focus on any specific section. Krell's lights pulsed rapidly, a sign of alarm that needed no translation. "Impossible. Our scans detected nothing of this magnitude beneath your oceans." "Quantum reflective alloy," Elena explained. "It absorbs and redirects scanning technology. The Invictus has been Earth's most closely guarded secret for 15 years, one of 5 such vessels strategically positioned around our planet." As she spoke, the supercarrier's systems came online. Launch bays opened along its length, and squadrons of aircraft unlike any the collective had seen before deployed in perfect formation. The destroyer's instruments momentarily fluctuated as the Invictus activated its energy shields, technology the collective believed was centuries beyond human capability. "Your intelligence on Earth was incomplete," Elena continued. "We developed along a different path than most species. Our history of conflict drove military innovation at an unprecedented rate." The aliens stood in stunned silence as the Invictus demonstrated maneuvers that defied their understanding of physics. The vessel could manipulate gravitational fields with precision that matched or exceeded collective technology. "We've observed the collective's approach to developing worlds," Admiral Santiago said, joining them on deck. "Technological gifts in exchange for resources and obedience. Earth is offering an alternative, equal partnership." Krell's translator remained silent for several moments as the ambassador processed this dramatic shift in the balance of power. When he finally spoke, his tone had changed noticeably. "It seems we have much to learn about each other," Krell admitted. "The collective's assessment of Earth will require significant revision." As the demonstration continued, Elena watched satisfaction spread across Admiral Santiago's face. The collective had arrived expecting to find a primitive world ready for subtle conquest. Instead, they discovered that humanity had teeth, very large ones. What none of them realized was that the revelation of the Invictus had set in motion events that would reshape the power structure of the entire galaxy. Alliance or extinction. 2 weeks after Earth's revelation of the Invictus, tensions remained high. The collective's diplomatic vessel maintained its orbit, but 3 additional ships had arrived at the edge of the solar system, officially described as cultural exchange vessels, but clearly military in nature. In the secure command center beneath Geneva, the Earth United Council convened an emergency session. Admiral Santiago stood before the assembled leaders, his expression grave as he delivered his report. "Our intelligence now confirms what we suspected," he announced. "The Galactic Collective is not the benevolent alliance it claims to be. In reality, it's dominated by 3 species that control most of its resources and military power. The remaining 60 members are essentially vassals, providing resources and labor." Elena Reyes, recently promoted to captain and given command of the Invictus, stood at attention beside the holographic display, showing the positions of all known collective vessels. "How did we acquire this intelligence?" asked Councillor Mbeki of the African Union. "We have an ally," Santiago replied, nodding to a figure who had remained in the shadows until now. A being similar to Ambassador Krell, but with distinctive blue-violet bioluminescence, stepped forward. "I am Talus, representative of the Novan Concord. We are one of the founding species of the collective, but have grown increasingly marginalized as the Triarchy seized control." The council chamber erupted in murmurs and exclamations. First contact had suddenly become far more complicated. "Talus has provided verification of what our deep space monitoring suggested," Santiago continued. "The collective's standard procedure with pre-FTL civilizations is to offer membership with significant technological benefits, creating dependency. Within a generation, the new member world becomes a resource extraction point with minimal autonomy. But our demonstration changed their approach," Elena added. "The Invictus and our other defensive capabilities have forced them to reevaluate." Talus's lights pulsed softly. "You must understand, your world is unique in our experience. Most species develop space travel before perfecting warfare. Humans did the opposite. The military technology you've developed independently has created a power imbalance the Triarchy didn't anticipate." Councillor Lai of the East Asian Coalition leaned forward. "So what are our options?" "The collective is divided on how to proceed," Talus explained. "The Triarchy faction advocates for immediate containment, a blockade of your system followed by targeted strikes against your supercarriers. The moderate faction, including my people, seeks genuine alliance." Santiago activated a holographic display showing Earth's defensive grid. "We've accelerated the activation of our orbital platforms. All 5 supercarriers are now on alert status. But we should be clear, despite our technological achievements, we're outnumbered. The collective's full military force would eventually overwhelm us. Then diplomacy remains essential." Council President Rosario concluded. "Captain Rice, you'll lead a delegation to the collective flagship. Your mission is to negotiate from strength while seeking allies among the moderates." 3 days later, Elena stood on the bridge of the Invictus as it surfaced from the depths of the Atlantic. The massive vessel rose with surprising grace, water cascading from its quantum-reflective hull as it prepared for its first space deployment. "All systems nominal," reported Commander Chen, her executive officer. "Gravitational drive at optimal capacity. Shield generators online." Elena nodded, feeling the weight of command. The Invictus carried a crew of 3,000, the most advanced weapons Earth had ever developed. And now, the fate of human civilization. "Begin atmospheric ascent," she ordered. "Maintain defensive posture but keep weapons systems passive. We're making a point, not starting a war." The supercarrier rose smoothly through the atmosphere, its advanced propulsion system leaving barely a trace in the sky. In orbit, the collective vessels adjusted their positions as the massive human ship approached. "We're being scanned extensively," Chen reported. "They're trying to penetrate our quantum shielding." "Let them try," Elena replied calmly. "Open a channel to Ambassador Krell's vessel." The main view screen activated, showing the now familiar form of Krell, whose lights pulsed in patterns that the human crew had learned indicated surprise and concern. Captain Reyes, the ambassador's translated voice, contained a new note of respect. The collective welcomes this opportunity for direct dialogue. The United Earth Council has authorized me to begin formal negotiations regarding Earth's relationship with the collective. Elena responded. We propose a meeting aboard the Invictus as neutral territory. Before Krell could respond, the ship's sensors detected a massive energy surge from one of the newly arrived collective vessels. Incoming energy weapon, Chen shouted. Impact in 3 seconds. The attack came without warning. A concentrated beam of exotic particles designed to overwhelm defensive shields. But the Invictus's quantum reflective hull did something the collective engineers had believed impossible. It absorbed, redistributed, and reflected the energy harmlessly into space. No damage, Chen reported, sounding almost surprised despite their confidence in the ship's systems. Shields holding at 97% capacity. Elena's expression remained unchanged. Ambassador Krell, I believe one of your vessels just fired upon us during a diplomatic exchange. Please explain. Krell's lights pulsed chaotically. Captain, I assure you this was not authorized. The vessel in question belongs to the Praetori faction. They must be acting independently. The Triarchy faction. Elena corrected, using the term Talus had provided. Your collective is not as unified as you claimed. On the bridge of the Invictus, Talus stepped forward into view of the transmission. The deception ends now, Krell. Earth knows the truth about the collective. The ambassador's lights dimmed momentarily. A sign of shock. Talus of the Novan Concord, your presence here is illuminating. Earth offers a genuine alliance, Elena interjected. Not subjugation disguised as membership. The Novan Concord and other marginalized species within the collective have already expressed interest in a new partnership structure. As she spoke, Earth's other supercarriers were activating around the globe. The UES Prometheus rose from the Pacific. The UES Atlas emerged from beneath Arctic ice. The UES Orion surfaced in the Indian Ocean, and the UES Helios appeared from its hiding place in the Mariana Trench. In orbit, the same rogue collective vessel prepared to fire again. This time, the Invictus responded. A precisely targeted electromagnetic pulse disabled the attacking ship's weapon systems without causing catastrophic damage. We don't seek conflict, Elena stated firmly. But Earth will not be conquered or coerced. We offer the collective 2 paths forward. Attempt to subjugate us and face a war unlike any you've encountered before, or embrace a new paradigm of genuine cooperation. On screens across Earth, billions watched as the 5 supercarriers took position in a defensive formation around the planet. Each vessel represented a different specialization of Earth's defensive strategy. The Invictus focused on direct engagement, the Prometheus on electronic warfare, the Atlas on stealth operations, the Orion on long-range strikes, and the Helios on defensive systems. For 3 tense days, the standoff continued. Behind the scenes, Talus worked with Elena to contact moderate factions within the collective. The revelation of Earth's military capabilities, combined with the possibility of alliance rather than subjugation, sparked something unexpected within the collective's power structure: revolution. On the 4th day, Ambassador Krell requested an emergency meeting aboard the Invictus. When he arrived, he was accompanied not only by his original delegation, but by representatives from 28 collective species. Captain Reyes, Krell began, his lights pulsing in a pattern Elena had never seen before. The Collective Council has convened an emergency session. The Triarchy's attempt to attack Earth without authorization has triggered a constitutional crisis. And, Elena prompted, aware they had reached a pivotal moment. The moderate factions, led by the Novan Concord, now hold majority influence. We propose a new framework for collective Earth relations, the Galactic Concordat. Equal partnership, mutual defense, and technological exchange, based on consent rather than coercion. Elena exchanged glances with Talus, whose lights pulsed in confirmation. This is genuine. The alien ally confirmed. The Invictus and Earth's other defenses have done what centuries of internal politics could not, broken the Triarchy's control. 6 months later, Elena stood on the observation deck of the Invictus as it patrolled the newly established joint defense perimeter at the edge of the solar system. Beside her, Talos watched as a fleet of mixed Earth and collective vessels conducted training exercises. The Triarchy still controls significant forces, Talos noted. They won't accept the new Concordat easily. That's why the defensive alliance is essential, Elena replied. Earth brings new military thinking. Your people bring established networks and technologies. Together, we're stronger than either would be alone. Below them in the main hangar bay, engineers from 12 species work together, integrating collective propulsion advances with Earth's quantum reflective technology. The first joint design vessel was already under construction in Earth orbit, neither a human supercarrier nor a collective cruiser, but something new. Did you ever wonder why we built the supercarriers in secret? Elena asked suddenly. Even from our own people. Talos's lights pulsed with curiosity. I assumed standard military security. Elena shook her head. Humanity has always been divided, tribal. But the discovery of the quantum reflective technology 15 years ago gave us something more valuable than a military advantage. It gave us a reason to unite. The 5 supercarriers were built by a truly united Earth, perhaps the first genuinely global project in our history. And now that unity extends beyond your world, Talos observed. In the distance, Earth shone blue and serene. Around it, orbital platforms jointly staffed by humans and collective moderates maintained vigilance. The planet was no longer isolated or vulnerable, but neither was it conquered or subjugated. Humanity had entered the galactic stage, not as servants or subjects, but as partners. The Invictus and its sister ships had changed the balance of power across hundreds of star systems, not through conquest, but by creating the possibility of something new, a genuine alliance of equals. As Elena watched a squadron of hybrid fighters perform maneuvers that would have been impossible for either human or collective craft alone, she allowed herself a moment of pride. First contact had not led to subjugation or war, but to something perhaps more difficult and certainly more valuable: transformation. The age of the supercarrier had given way to the age of the Concordat, and the galaxy would never be the same again.